Imagine a man who treated fashion not merely as the business of clothing, but as a relentless, high-stakes intellectual battlefield, commanding global luxury empires with a feather fan in one hand and a sketchpad in the other. He was a self-proclaimed living caricature, deliberately hiding his eyes and emotions behind dark sunglasses, high starched collars, and a powdered ponytail, yet his mind was a voracious, unstoppable engine of creativity that fundamentally reshaped the entire landscape of modern style. This is the extraordinary reality of a designer who took a dying, dormant fashion house and transformed it into the most profitable cultural juggernaut on the planet, all while simultaneously helming multiple other historic brands and maintaining a prolific, parallel career as a photographer, publisher, and intellectual. His journey from a quiet, bookish child in post-war Germany to the undisputed, untouchable emperor of Parisian fashion is a masterclass in relentless reinvention, proving that true genius lies not just in creating beauty, but in ruthlessly controlling the narrative, the image, and the desire surrounding it. The genesis of this unparalleled fashion phenomenon began in the autumn of 1933 in the bustling, historic city of Hamburg, Germany. Born Karl Otto Lagerfeld into a wealthy family, his early environment was defined by privilege, but also by a strict, somewhat austere domestic atmosphere. His mother was a formidable, highly disciplined woman who instilled in him a profound sense of order, an appreciation for classical aesthetics, and an unyielding work ethic. Recognizing his early fascination with drawing and design, she encouraged his creative pursuits, though she remained fiercely protective of his upbringing. When he was just 14 years old, the family relocated to Paris, the undisputed epicenter of the global fashion world. This move was the catalyst that ignited his destiny. Immersed in the vibrant, recovering post-war culture of the French capital, the young Lagerfeld began to obsessively study the history of art, architecture, and costume, laying the intellectual groundwork that would later distinguish him from his purely commercially driven peers. His formal entry into the fashion industry was marked by an almost immediate display of prodigious talent. In the mid-1950s, he entered the prestigious International Woolmark Prize competition, a highly contested event designed to discover the next generation of design talent. Against seasoned professionals, the teenage Lagerfeld submitted a series of breathtaking coat designs that showcased an extraordinary understanding of proportion, fabric manipulation, and modern silhouettes. He won the coat category decisively, an achievement that instantly opened the doors to the most exclusive ateliers in Paris. He was quickly hired as an assistant to the legendary Pierre Balmain, where he spent 3 grueling years learning the meticulous, unforgiving mechanics of haute couture. He absorbed the technical mastery of pattern cutting, the politics of the atelier, and the exacting standards required to dress the elite. However, his ambition quickly outgrew the role of an assistant, leading him to a position at the House of Jean Patou, where he was given his first taste of creative direction, though he soon realized that true artistic freedom required him to forge his own independent path. The 1960s and 70s marked the era where he began to establish his own formidable reputation, most notably through his transformative work at the French fashion house Clos. Hired to bring a fresh perspective to the brand, he introduced a romantic, bohemian, yet sharply tailored aesthetic that perfectly captured the liberated spirit of the era. His designs for Clos were characterized by flowing fabrics, ruffled blouses, and a sense of effortless, youthful elegance that stood in stark contrast to the rigid, structured formal wear of the previous decade. Simultaneously, he embarked on a partnership that would become one of the longest and most significant in fashion history. In 1965, he was appointed as the creative director of the Italian luxury brand Fendi. At the time, fur was considered a heavy, traditional, and somewhat conservative status symbol. He revolutionized the material entirely, treating it with unprecedented innovation. He shaved it, dyed it, knitted it, and combined it with unexpected materials like leather and silk, transforming fur into a lightweight, playful, and highly modern expression of luxury. His work at Fendi established his reputation as a master of craftsmanship and a designer who deeply respected a brand's archive while aggressively pushing it into the future. However, the defining, monumental achievement of his career arrived in the winter of 1983, when he was appointed as the creative director of Chanel. At the time, the historic French fashion house was widely considered to be a dormant, dusty relic, relegated to the memories of a bygone era following the death of its legendary founder, Coco Chanel, over a decade earlier. The brand was struggling, its image perceived as outdated and irrelevant to the modern, dynamic woman of the 1980s. The Wertheimer family, the owners of the house, took a massive, highly controversial risk by hiring this relatively young, unconventional German designer, who was known for his work in ready-to-wear rather than traditional haute couture. He did not merely attempt to mimic the past, he surgically dissected the foundational codes of the brand. He took the signature tweed suits, the camellia flower, the quilted leather, the interlocking chains, and the strict black and white palette, and he injected them with a provocative, modern, and sometimes irreverent energy. He understood that to save Chanel, he had to make it desirable to a new generation. He boldly introduced the interlocking CC logo as a ubiquitous, highly visible status symbol, plastering it across belts, bags, and accessories. He collaborated with pop culture icons, cast unconventional models, and infused the collections with a vibrant, street-smart attitude that had never been associated with the house before. Under his visionary leadership, he transformed the runway shows at the Grand Palais into spectacular, immersive theatrical events. He built functioning supermarkets, rocket ships, and sprawling beaches inside the historic venue, turning each presentation into a global media event that generated millions of dollars in free publicity. He did not just save Chanel from obscurity, he resurrected it and engineered its rise to become the most powerful, influential, and profitable luxury brand in the world. Parallel to his professional triumphs, he possessed the acute business intelligence to understand that the designer must be a brand in their own right. He meticulously crafted the iconic persona that the world would come to know simply as Karl. He adopted the stark white hair pulled back into a rigid, low ponytail, the dark sunglasses that shielded his eyes and created an aura of impenetrable mystery, the high starched collars, the signature fingerless gloves, and the sleek, tailored black suits. This was not merely a personal style choice, it was a carefully constructed armor and a marketing masterpiece. He became a living logo, instantly recognizable in any crowd, ensuring that his personal brand was inextricably linked to the houses he represented. In the early 2000s, he famously undertook a drastic, highly publicized weight loss journey to fit into the slim-cut suits designed by a younger contemporary. He documented the grueling diet and exercise regimen in a published book, turning a personal health transformation into yet another layer of his enduring mythos, proving his absolute control over his own physical narrative. Beyond the runway and the atelier, he was a profound intellectual and a true polymath, a fact that deeply informed his creative output. He was a voracious, obsessive reader, once claiming to own a personal library of over 300,000 books, spanning art history, philosophy, literature, and architecture. He founded his own publishing house, Edition 7L, and opened a legendary, highly curated bookstore in Paris, reflecting his belief that fashion is deeply intertwined with broader cultural and intellectual movements. Furthermore, he was a highly accomplished and prolific photographer. He frequently shot his own advertising campaigns for Chanel and Fendi, bypassing traditional photographers to ensure his exact visual vision was realized. He also produced elaborate, highly stylized portraits of his friends, muses, and fellow artists, constantly blurring the lines between different artistic disciplines. His immense intellect was his sharpest tool, allowing him to reference complex historical and artistic concepts in his collections, thereby elevating fashion from mere commerce to the level of high art. His work ethic was legendary, bordering on the inhuman, and served as the engine for his unprecedented productivity. He claimed to design hundreds of sketches a day, working late into the night, fueled by an insatiable drive and his well-documented love for Diet Coke. He simultaneously served as the creative director for Chanel, Fendi, and his eponymous label, a staggering workload that would crush a normal person. He approached each brand with distinct, separate creative minds, ensuring that the aesthetic of one never bled into the other. However, his towering brilliance was often accompanied by sharp, controversial, and deliberately provocative statements. He frequently courted scandal with his blunt, unfiltered opinions on politics, society, and the fashion industry itself. He used outrage as a calculated tool to maintain his relevance, challenge the status quo, and keep the global media firmly focused on him. He was a master of the soundbite, understanding intuitively that in the modern media landscape, attention is the most valuable currency, and he knew exactly how to capture it. As the years progressed into the late 2010s, he remained fiercely dedicated to his craft, showing absolutely no signs of slowing down or relinquishing his grip on the industry he dominated. His final collections were met with standing ovations, celebrated by critics and peers alike for their continued innovation, impeccable tailoring, and the undimmed sharpness of his creative vision. He passed away in the winter of 2019 in Paris, leaving behind a profound void that the fashion industry has yet to fill. His legacy is not merely measured in the billions of dollars of revenue he generated or the iconic garments he created, but in the fundamental, irreversible shift he engineered in how fashion is consumed, marketed, and perceived globally. He proved that a designer could be a historian, a provocateur, a ruthless businessman, and a brilliant artist all at once. From the quiet, bookish halls of his youth to the dazzling, high-pressure arenas of the Grand Palais, his journey remains the ultimate testament to the power of unwavering self-belief, strategic brilliance, and an uncompromising vision. He did not merely participate in the history of fashion, he authored its most dominant modern chapter, leaving behind a blueprint for creative power that will be studied by designers and cultural leaders for generations to come.